Thank you, Chairman Lambourne and Ranking Member Huffman, for having me today, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to advocate on behalf of H.R. 2083, the Endangered Salmon and Fisheries Predation and Prevention Act. It's a mouthful. I'm also very pleased that Leland Bill is here with us today. Mr. Bill is the chairman of the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission and a member of the Yakama Nation Tribal Council, and I appreciate that he was willing to make this trip across the country here to testify. And we both agree that it's of important recreational, economic, and cultural value to ensure the recovery of our salmon, a unique and important resource to those of us in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm honored to have him here today. The Endangered Salmon and Fisheries Predation Prevention Act provides tribal members and government resource managers with the means to rapidly respond and remove California sea lions from specific areas where they're posing the most harm to our salmon restoration efforts. Despite existing law, we continue to have big problems with sea lion predation on the Columbia River. Mr. Chairman, the Columbia River makes up the entire southern border of my district. It's the third largest inland waterway in the nation. The river is a lifeline for clean, affordable energy, which to replace would require about 16 coal-fired plants in terms of base load, which is one of the reasons we want to protect it. And it brings an important economic benefit both to recreational and commercial fishing. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife estimates that there are more than 3,500 sea lions residing in the lower end of the river. This figure is more than double 2014's record of 1,420 sea lions. State studies show that between 16 and 20% of the spring salmon run may be consumed by sea lions. This is unacceptable. While the lethal take of sea lions is a last resort, it is necessary to protect hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in the Northwest residents have made to protect and restore and enhance salmon and other ESA species on the river. Here's a couple of pictures I'm going to send around of some of our offenders. And the sea lions, if it's possible to have this sent around to the committee, the sea lions are not just a threat to salmon, but also to recreational access on the Columbia River, which is of great importance to my district. Sea lions are reportedly having a devastating impact on the harbors and docks at the mouth of the Columbia, specifically with the East Marina in Astoria. Enactment of this bill would be a start, returning the number of sea lion to a level that would minimize their damage to docks and harbors and increase access for fishermen and recreationalists. This is my next show and tell, and I'm going to have this sent around too as well. From the economic side of things alone, recreational fishing helps support more than 5,100 jobs and over $247 million in income for Washington residents. And this is not new legislation, but it's also not a new problem. The sea lion issue persists and is actually getting worse. After listening to resource managers, I've made changes to the bill to ensure that the growing problems are properly addressed. My district continues to have concerns about the huge sea lion population's negative impact from restricting access on our river and its tributaries to damaging salmon recovery. Something that is especially concerning since my constituents, many of whom rely on clean, sustainable hydropower generated from the Columbia, are funding salmon restoration policies through their utility rates. There are impacts from the dams on salmon runs. And we as people have decided we're going to spend upwards of $1 billion to mitigate and do the best we can to make changes there and offset the impact. The sea lion are making no such improvements or enhancements or offers to offset their damage. Hydro customers pay for regional fish and wildlife program through their wholesale power purchases from Bonneville Power Administration, which reports that as much of 1/3 of customers' utility bill is going to fish and wildlife commitments. Now, I want to ensure that those funds are being put to good use and that we're implementing policies based on sound science that are not undermining our ability to deal with this predation problem. This bill is a much-needed solution. The bill would amend Section 120 of the Marine Mammal Protection Act to authorize Secretary of Commerce to issue permits to eligible entities permitting the lethal take of sea lions on the waters of the Columbia River and its tributaries as long as the sea lions are not listed as depleted under MMPA or threatened under ESA. I also want to make sure that people understand this bill enjoys bipartisan support, both here in Congress and at home. The Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, the Coastal Conservation Association of Oregon and Washington, the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Oregon State Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Northwest Power and Conservation Council, and Public Utilities are among its supporters. This is an incredibly important bill, and I think it allows us to maintain access to our river, keep our commitment to tribal obligations, and ensure a quality return on our government and taxpayers' investment on salmon recovery. With that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.